Please be seated. Good morning. We're on the record, case number 12 CF 1083A, State versus George Zimmerman. Before we get started, I want to make an announcement that Juror B72 was dismissed for reasons totally unrelated to this case. So he will not be with us today. And the court has reviewed the testimony of Mr. Nofke. The court has reviewed the case law and heard the arguments. Defense motion to defense objection based upon the Williams rule is denied. The defense objection as to relevancy is denied. The tapes will come into evidence. Counsel will approach. There's one matter I want to give you a copy of. We ready to bring the jury in?
Thanks, Your Honor.
Defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Let's bring them in. Please be seated. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I'm going to go through my morning questions. If your answer is yes to any of my questions, please raise your hand. During the overnight visit, did any of you have any conversations amongst yourselves or with anybody else? No hands are being raised. Did any of you read or listen to any radio, television, or newspaper reports about the case? No hands are being raised. Did any of you use an electronic device to do independent research about the case, people, places, things, or terminology? No hands are being raised. And finally, did any of you read or create any emails, text messages, Twitters, tweets, blogs, or social networking pages about the case? No hands are being raised. Thank you very much. State, call your next witness.
Okay, we call James Rodaiga.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that your testimony in these proceedings will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you.
You may proceed.
Thank you. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
If you could state your name and spell your last name for the record, please.
Yes, it's Jane Surdyka, Surdyka.
Are you working at this time, ma'am?
No, I'm not.
Okay. How long have you been unemployed?
For a couple months.
And can you briefly tell us about your prior work experience?
Certainly. I'm a recreation therapist, and I was working at Halifax Psychiatric Hospital and also working with behavioral care with adult and teenagers and children.
Okay. And had you previously also been a teacher at a middle school?
Yes, I was a teacher for over 10 years.
Okay. Can you briefly tell us about your educational background, ma'am?
Certainly. My undergraduate degree is in health, physical education, recreation, and I went to graduate school in exercise physiology.
And your undergraduate degree was from University of Florida?
Yes,
And how about your graduate degree?
UCF.
Okay. Did you also qualify for the Olympics at some point in your life?
During the 80s is when I was running, and if they had a marathon in the Olympic Games, I would have been the top 3 runners.
Okay. And were those the Olympics that was boycotted?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you married, ma'am?
No.
And do you have any children?
No.
I'm not going to ask you for your current address, but do you live in Seminole County, Florida?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I want to draw your attention back to February of 2012. Back in February of 2012, were you living at the retreat at Twin Lakes?
Yes.
And in February of 2012, approximately how many years had you been living there?
That would be 4 years.
Okay. Were you living by yourself?
Yes, sir.
Anybody else in the house other than a cat?
No, just the cat.
And what is the cat's name?
Leah.
I want to draw your attention to specifically February 26th of 2012, a Sunday evening. Were you living at the address of 3021 Retreat View Circle?
Yes.
And is that a townhome, ma'am?
Yes.
Can you briefly describe the townhome? Are the bedrooms upstairs and the rest of the town living compartments or rooms, I should say, downstairs?
Yes, that would be correct.
Okay. How many bedrooms are upstairs?
3.
Okay. And the bedrooms, specifically the master bedroom, was it facing the front or the back of the residence?
The back of the residence.
And does the master bedroom have a window that faces out into what's been referred to as a dog walk or a sidewalk that sits between 2 buildings?
Yes.
Okay. Do you normally keep that window open for your cat, Leo?
I normally keep the blinds open about a foot or so because there's a cat ledge at that window where my cat lays and looks out the window to the courtyard.
Okay. Does that window also have a screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I want to draw your attention to that Sunday evening, February 26th of 2012. Were you home that evening?
Yes.
Okay. And approximately at around 7:10 p.m., what were you doing?
Well, I came upstairs and I just finished taking my shower. And I was going to lay down on the bed and read a book, waiting for my British sitcom to come on. So I didn't have any volume on my television.
Okay. So let's make sure the jury understands completely the setting that you were in. You were in your master bedroom?
Yes.
Okay. And you said you took a shower. Tell me in terms of the volume on the TV. I don't understand that. Was the TV on, but the volume wasn't on?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And you were laying on the bed, or were you sitting down, or were you standing up?
I was laying on the bed, getting ready to read.
Okay. At that time, did something draw your attention outside of your residence?
Well, first, I heard it just started bucketing down with rain, so I had the window open. So I got up and I closed the window.
Okay. So you had the window open for Leo?
Yes.
Okay. And so when you say you physically got up and actually put the window down?
Yes.
And are these the windows that, not like the old-fashioned jalousie, these actually just come down?
Correct.
Okay. All right. And when you put the window down, did you go back to on the bed, or where did you proceed to from there?
I got up and I put the window down, and when I turned around to get, sit back on my bed to read, I heard loud voices.
Okay. At that time, you mentioned the weather condition, that it was raining outside. Can you also tell us whether it was dark or whether it was light outside?
It would be dark at that time in February.
And you mentioned that something got your attention when you heard voices. Could you tell whether there was one or two individuals, or three or four? Could you tell how many individuals were outside?
With the window closed, I just heard a very loud voice, and it kind of surprised me because I thought, well, who would be out there walking their dog in the rain, in the pouring rain out in the courtyard, because that's normally where people walk their dogs.
Okay. And then what happened then, ma'am?
So I heard it. I just sat on my bed, and I started to read, and I heard the loud voices again.
Okay. Now you said voices plural, so you were hearing at this point more than one voice?
I could only say that I heard a very loud, dominant voice at that point.
All right. Okay. The loud voice that you heard that was dominant, could you make out what was being said, if something was being said?
When I opened the window to listen.
Okay. All right. So let me backtrack a second. You heard voices, then you heard more voices. You got up. Did you open the window at that time?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us about that. How did you open? Did you physically go to the window and open it, I'm assuming? Because Leo was the only other living. Okay.
Yeah, Leo wasn't on the windowsill at that time.
Okay. All right.
I went over I heard the voices again, and I thought, oh my gosh, who would be out there? So I raised up the window, and to look, because I have the blinds about 1 foot high, I had to kneel down where the cat ledge was and open the window. So when I opened the window, I thought, I could hear now the voices.
Okay. So you stated you had blinds. How far down were the blinds? Were they fully covering the window? Were they only halfway, 3/4 of the way, 1/4 of the way?
About 1 foot, 2 feet, I could see perfectly clear.
Okay. So when you said you crouched down, you had a direct view out into what?
I kneeled down, so my hands were actually even on the cat ledge, and I would look straight out into the courtyard.
Okay. Tell us, if you could, what you heard and what you saw.
Well, like I said, I thought it was unusual that someone was out there in the pouring rain, so I opened the window, and all I could really hear, I guess I expected to open the window and hear like a conversation going on, but it really wasn't like someone out there just talking. When I opened the window, I heard like a very aggressive voice, sounded very angry, very agitated, and that kind of struck me. I don't know why I didn't hear the words. I think it was just the tone of voice that I didn't understand. I knew there was something different than just a conversation going on. But then I also heard, after the loud voice was very aggressive, almost like yelling, then I would hear like a lighter, softer, higher pitched voice.
Okay. This is my word, and if it's not correct, please correct me. did you feel that there was an exchange back and forth, or was it, when you say a dominant voice, aggressive, was the less dominant, or how did you describe the other voice?
Well, I heard more of the dominant voice. That kind of went on longer and, more aggressive. And then maybe at the end of hearing more of that voice, I would just hear a little bit of the other higher toned, softer voice, almost kind of, like talking back to that person.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get you to do.
Yes.
At that time, when you were hearing the voices, when you were looking out, could you see the voices, who they were coming from?
No, I couldn't, because I had right next to the window is my nightstand, and I had my night light on while I was reading. So there was a glare. I could only very clearly hear, not see, because of that glare of my night light on.
And let's backtrack a second. Could you tell that definitely the voices were coming from outside? In other words, outside versus somebody inside their home?
Absolutely. It was very, right from where I am, it's like 20, 30 feet, and you can hear it very clearly.
Okay, so somebody or two individuals outside?
Yes.
Okay. And you mentioned you had did you describe it as a night light or some kind of light on? Did you turn it off?
Yes, when I was was hearing that it wasn't a normal conversation and some very aggressive going on, I thought, let me shut the light off and see if I could see who it is.
Okay.
And when I go ahead.
Go ahead. When you turn the light off, was your view then a better view in terms of going or looking outside of the courtyard?
Yes.
Okay. If you could tell the jury what you then observed at that time.
I just reached over and shut my light off, and then when I looked down, I could see now at that point 2 people on the ground, one on top of each other.
Okay. Now, I'm assuming when you first heard the voices and you were laying on the bed and you then mentioned getting up, etc., did you have like a stopwatch or something to time yourself as to how long it took you from the first voices you heard to the very end, or where you're at right now in terms of actually being able to see outside? Were you able to estimate how long? Let me backtrack. I apologize. Did you have a stopwatch, and were you timing yourself in terms of how long from when you first heard the voices to the point where you're at now?
I wasn't timing anything. I just
Okay.
know there was a little period of time of not hearing the voices because I didn't open the window right away.
Well, that's what I was trying to make sure that the jurors understood. So there was a gap, I guess.
Yes.
Okay, all right. If you were to estimate how long it was from when you first heard the voices to the point where you're at now, where you're actually looking out and you turned off the lights, if you estimated, how long do you think it took between the first time hearing the voices and then what you're describing now?
I could only estimate a couple minutes, maybe 5 minutes at the most.
I apologize. I had you go back and estimate the time. What then are you observing when you're now looking clearly out and the light is not obstructing your view outside? What do you observe? You mentioned something. Go ahead and tell us what you observed and what you saw.
Yes. Now I look out with the light off, and I could see right near the porches that there are 2 men on the ground.
Okay.
Men, because I know they're men now, but 2 people on the ground, one on top of each other.
All right.
And it kind of looked like they were
Okay,
shuffling.
you're doing something with your hands, and I'm doing something now with my hands, but if you could, it's important for you to describe what you're doing. You're doing something with your hands. If you could, articulate, because the jurors are able to hear you, or see you, I should say.
Yes.
But I want, if you could, make sure the record's clear in terms of what action you're describing between the 2 individuals.
Right. Looking down, there was one person on top of each other. They were vertical, and it's kind of like you can hear scuffling, they're moving back and forth. I didn't see arms swinging or anything like that, but just, that they were on the ground and they were wrestling or shuffling.
Okay. You mentioned that you now know there was 2 men. At the time when you were observing, could you tell at that point whether they were men, women, kids? Could you tell the race? Could you tell the gender? Could you tell, et cetera, about them other than there were 2 people on the ground?
No, I couldn't tell that. I only knew from hearing the voice, at least it sounded like a male voice, the aggressive voice that was there earlier that I heard.
Okay. All right. Tell us what then you observed and what you heard.
When I saw the 2 men on the ground, or 2 people on the
Yes.
ground and shuffling, I thought, oh my gosh, something horrible is happening. So I had my cell phone right on the side where the light was. So I just grabbed the cell phone and, brought it to me and started pressing 911.
Okay. And in the process of calling 911, was there additional sounds that caught your attention?
Yes, as I was pressing 911 is when I heard very clearly that I say the two yells for help.
Okay. In terms of the two individuals, the voices that you've described, one a more dominant or aggressive, and the other one, what word did you use to describe the other one?
Higher pitched.
Okay. The yells for help that you heard at that time, could you identify whether it was the dominant, louder voice or the higher pitched one?
Well, in my opinion, I truly believe, especially the second yell for help, that was like a yelp. It was excruciating. I really felt it was the boy's voice.
And in terms of distinguishing, you said, I apologize. The last sentence you said, the voice you heard yelling for help was whose voice?
Let me object, Your Honor, at this point then to improper predicate foundation for such an opinion.
Overruled.
If you could repeat your last answer, I want to make sure all the jurors heard it. You said, in terms of the voice, the last yell for help or yelp, you said it was, who did you believe in terms of between the two individuals?
The boy, the younger person. It was like a boy's voice.
Okay. And when you say a younger person, is that based on just the voices that one was louder, more dominant, aggressive, and the other one sounded like a younger individual?
Yes.
Okay. Now, let me backtrack a second. You've had experience, you mentioned in the last two jobs you had. You've dealt with children before, have you not?
Yes, I have.
And you've dealt with adults before too, have you not?
Yes, I have.
Okay. You were telling us that you heard some kind of yelp before was that before the shot, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Okay. And then you heard a shot.
Well, I call it.
Tell us what you heard. I apologize. You tell us what you heard.
Sorry. After hearing the yelps for help, I still was staring down out the window, and I just know it was still one person on top of each other. Then I heard from my window, pop, 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 and I don't know what a gun really sounds like, but it was like 3 popping noises.
So you felt from your observations or hearing, you felt it was actually 3 pops, I guess you heard.
Yes, from my window.
Okay. And then what happened?
Like I said, it was still dark. I heard the popping noises. I was shaking, and just a little while later, one person got up, and that person got up and started walking right towards my window, where I could see that person really clear now.
All right. Now, the person, when you say started walking towards your window, were they headed towards your window you're talking about, literally? I know were you upstairs? Let's make sure the record's clear. You were upstairs, is that correct? Your
Yes.
vantage point. And so they were headed towards your building, the side?
That would be correct. They were coming closer to where my area is, where I live, so I could see them clearer.
Okay, all right. What, if you could, the observations of the person, and describe what that person was doing as best you can in terms of any actions that, was the person just walking or were they standing? How were they acting?
They just were walking closer to where I was observing from, and they came, could see them pretty clearly now because there actually was a light on the porch that was on that left side where I was observing. And the person just walked normally and then came over to where that porch was and just put his hand to his forehead, kind of like that.
And you're like almost like well, I can't put words in your mouth. You tell us, you put your hand up to your, like, describe if you could, again, just demonstrate to the jury. How the person had their hand up to the forehead or to the side of their head?
Well, I was looking from above, so the person just, I could see the right side very clearly, so he just kind of, almost like a salute, just kind of had his hand there and bent his knees a little bit.
Okay. What then did you observe or hear?
Just shortly after that, I believe the neighbor from that house right there where I was watching from came out of his front door, and I watched him go down the sidewalk to Mr. Zimmerman.
Okay. The person you now know is Mr. Zimmerman. Is that the person you described as walking and putting his hand to the head?
Yes.
Okay. You mentioned the person you described now as Mr. Zimmerman, and I gather you know the other person that was shot, Trayvon Martin. Did you know him before at all?
No.
Did you know Mr. Zimmerman at all before that night?
No.
Okay. And you ended up calling, actually having contact or communicating with an operator at 911, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I want to show you some photographs if I could, ma'am. And hopefully you'll be able to see it up there from your vantage point. Please let me know if you can. Thank you, Your Honor. Do you see that exhibit right there in front of you?
Yes.
Okay. And do you live, I'm going to kind of point, well, I don't know if I'll do a good job of this, but hold on. Kind of blow it up. Are you in this area right here? Are you in, the arrow, is this where the apartments where you were at, or the townhouse where you were at back in February of 2012?
If that's where the courtyard is.
Yeah, assuming this is the courtyard T here.
Okay. Now I see. Yes.
Your vantage point would have been from where the arrow is
Yes.
towards this area right here?
Yes.
Okay. When you mentioned that the person you know now is Mr. Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin, or you described as a boy, where were they in relation to where the arrow is? Were they, I'm sorry, where they were on the ground, were they in this area over here, or where were they?
I just see it as somewhere between the first and second porch to the right within that area.
Okay, all right. Let me go down to, I'm sorry, next exhibit I want to show you is State's Exhibit number 4. This is not your view, correct? This is just the street level view. Do you understand that? I mean, this is what I'm trying to ask. This exhibit doesn't show your view.
No.
Okay, I want to make sure the record's clear about that. State's Exhibit number 5. Is this your view, or is this a street level view?
No, that's where the sidewalk was. The
Okay.
dog thing is
Okay.
right there where I was looking, and that's the porch where I saw Mr.
Okay.
Zimmerman standing in front.
Okay, right here in front of, right here?
Right around there, there's like a little tree there, and he was standing there, and
Okay,
I could see him clearly.
okay. State's Exhibit number 10, does that show that tree clearer?
Yes.
Okay. Now, in State's Exhibit number 10, would your residence have been back here up in the top, obviously the bedroom you were looking at back here?
Yes, if I could
Okay.
put myself.
State's Exhibit 38, obviously that's a daytime photograph,
Yes.
but, and obviously it's from the ground level, but is this the courtyard that you've been talking about in terms of where you observed what was going on?
Yes.
Okay. State's Exhibit 41. Does this show part of your residence here? In other words, your vantage point from over here looking towards the courtyard that I'm pointing to right now?
Right. You could see the little chair next to that white fence, and that's where my place is.
Right up here?
Yes.
Okay, so that would have been your vantage point right there?
Yes.
Okay. And for the record, I've shown you State's Exhibit 41, and you're talking about a window that is all the way up to the right-hand side of that photograph. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So your vantage point in terms of looking down would have been towards the, and I'm doing an arrow here, towards the courtyard here. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. State's Exhibit 43, does that show it a little bit to the side? Your residence would have been over to the side of that, is that correct? In other words, this is still showing the courtyard area right here?
I can't really tell where that is.
Okay. And then State's Exhibit 44, does that show the courtyard area? That
Yes.
you would have, your vantage point in terms of looking?
From the left of that picture.
Okay. And for the record, that was State's Exhibit 44. All right, ma'am, I'm sorry, Your Honor, I'm through with needing the lights dim. And may I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
Mr. Dyka, back in February of 2012, I don't know if you can see that from here. You were living, your address, what we said was what?
3021.
Okay, so I'm going to put the sticker where your residence back in February of 2012. That would have been right here, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and your vantage point would have been towards this right here, the courtyard, is that correct?
Yes, and I could see the sidewalk to the right and all the way down here.
Okay, all right. And where you're saying the struggle happened was in this courtyard right here, or you tell me?
I could just point out, and somewhere around this area.
Okay, all right. Did you ever see an individual walking all the way down this way and back, specifically Mr. Zimmerman?
No.
Before the shooting?
No.
And I apologize, I was showing you State Exhibit 139 for purposes of the record. You mentioned, ma'am, that you called 911 and you were able to actually get through the operator, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And for the record, I am now playing State's Exhibit. It is State's Exhibit 160, Mr. Dyka's 911 call. Go ahead.
And I'm looking up my back,
Okay,
come
we
home,
need some
and someone screaming.
Sorry, Your Honor, we got a logistics or a technical problem. How do we get the valve? We gotta get.
I'm at a 3021 Refugee Circle, and I'm looking up my back, come home, and someone screaming help.
May I have
and
may I have a moment,
I
Your
don't know,
Honor?
I heard like a bang. I'm at a 3021 Refugee Circle.
Let me start again at the beginning if I could, just. Thank you, sir.
911, police, fire, medical.
Yes, I'm at a 3021 Refugee Circle, and I'm looking up my back townhome, and someone's screaming help, and I don't know, I heard like a bang.
Now, you said you live at 3231 Retreat View?
3021 Retreat View Circle,
Just
the townhome.
Just for 31 Retreat View?
Yes, and I'm looking out my window, like my backyard, and someone's yelling and screaming help, and I heard, like a pop noise, and they're both still out there right now. I don't know what's going on.
Well, I can tell you right now, you're not the only person that's calling. We already have one officer on scene and another on the way.
Oh, good.
However,
Oh, my God, I see the person right now. I see him, like, walking. There's a man coming out. There's people coming out with flashlights. oh my God, I don't know what he did to this person.
Was it a
I can't see, there's a man walking
male
out with a
or
flashlight right now.
female voice that was making the noise?
Pardon?
Was it a male or a female voice that was screaming?
I guess I don't know. The man is up right now. Someone's coming over. I'm glad other people called.
All right, we should be out there right now around...
I can open my window and hear it if you want me to.
You can still hear it? You can still hear it?
Looking out my window, somebody's over there taking a flashlight. I don't know what's happening. Someone's on the ground.
You see someone laying on the ground?
I don't know, someone's been shot. I don't know what's going on.
Okay, well, just calm down. Stay on the line with me. Like I said, we have an officer on scene, and we have other officers on the
Oh
line.
my God, they better hurry up. I don't know if someone's like dead on the ground or something. Oh my God.
Are they laying down
Someone's over here with
are they
someone.
laying down on retreat view?
Well, I look out my back window, and that's like a sidewalk and grass and stuff. Something's really bad, I guess. But there's a man out here with a flashlight with a man
Is
who's
this
a person wrestling.
Is this person laying down in the street?
No, see, it's the back of, you could see from my back window, it's only like a sidewalk and a back area. There's
Okay.
people coming over.
So is the person that you see laying down on the street or in the grass?
No, on the grass. Oh my God. People are coming. I think there's another gentleman with a flashlight. I don't know if the police or not. Oh my God, he shot the person. He just said he shot the person.
Who's saying they shot who?
And there's people out there. A guy is raising his hands up. He's saying he shot a person. I think it's a police officer that's with him right now. Oh my God, why would somebody be
It looks like our officer is there. He has someone at gunpoint.
Yeah.
They're gonna handle the situation from here.
Oh my God.
It's
Someone could be shot.
It's probably gonna be best if you stay inside your home for the time being, okay?
I know, but I can't believe someone is killed. He was saying help. Why didn't someone come out and help him?
Listen, we don't know if they've been killed, okay? We know they've probably...
He just said he shot him. Yes, the person is dead, laying on the grass.
Just because he's laying on the
Oh my
ground...
God.
Just because he's laying on the ground doesn't mean he's passed. We have an ambulance on the way as well. We're going to probably pick him up and take him to the hospital.
I didn't see because it was too dark, and I just heard people screaming, help me, and this person shot him. He was like wrestling with him, you know what I mean, on the ground. From what I could see, it was very dark.
All right.
But I think it's a police officer that's there. I mean, the man didn't try to run away or anything.
And can I get your name, please?
Jane, Sir Jane, but I don't want to be a witness or anything.
It's okay. I'll leave you as anonymous.
I'm just scared. I mean, I can't even believe that this is of a person. Oh my God! I hope it's a young boy or something. I can't imagine. I've never seen anyone killed. Oh,
All right.
this is like a nice neighborhood. This is like, oh my God! I'm too scared to live here.
Okay, Jane. Well, you don't have to worry right now. We have many officers on the way, and I think about 2 officers on scene at least right now. So we are on scene, okay?
Oh my God, to see someone killed laying in the grass. Oh my God. I want to know what happened. Why would this man just shoot him?
Once the incident calms down a little bit, you can probably try to ask one of the officers what's going on. But in the meantime, it's probably...
Oh my God. There comes another police officer. It's right outside my window. I mean, it's like 2 feet away. I mean, 10 feet out my window. Oh my God, why would somebody kill someone like that?
Now, of course, we're not going to know the details.
Oh, I can't look. I mean, the officer is shining the light on the person. He killed someone. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Did you hear or see anything else suspicious before you heard
No, I was just watching. I was watching my TV, and this is my back window. And then I heard people talking out there, and I was kind of like, oh gosh, were they? It's pouring rain. Why would they be outside? I figure walking their dog or something. And then I heard more talking voices, and I didn't open my window. And then I just it looked like I thought, oh, are those two men talking to each other, or they looked like they were wrestling each other, and then I heard the man saying, help, help. I mean, I would have helped if I could have. He's walking, the police officer is bringing the person away that's showing him.
All right, Jane. We'll stay inside your house for the time being. Once the steam calms down a little bit, you may...
Oh, God. I mean, they're looking at the person that's dead. They're just going to... Oh, God.
Jane,
Sorry.
Jane, if it's going to make you emotional, you may want to just step away from the window for the time being.
Okay.
All right?
Okay. Oh, my God, I don't know who to tell. I'm sorry.
Do you have any... If you don't feel like staying alone there, do you have any relatives that you can call that can come over?
No, I don't have any family.
No friends? Nothing like that you can go to?
No, not really, no. I mean, you know, I'm a normal adult person. I used to be a teacher and stuff. Oh, God. I'm sorry, I'm not, I gotta think of someone to call. I'm sorry, I don't know what to do.
That's okay. Well, like I said, right now, the best thing to do is to probably just stay inside. And
Okay.
if it's going to make you emotional, look out the window, then you should probably just
Yeah, I'm not
walk away for now.
I just can't believe it. I mean, I feel like, you know,
From what I can
I wish
see,
I could have done something for the person.
from what I can see, we possibly have the person that's responsible, so you don't have to worry about that for now.
Yes, I know, but when someone yells for help, don't you feel like you wish you could have helped them, you know? I mean, I don't have a gun or anything, but, you know. Oh. Sorry.
It's okay. I mean, just remember...
I can't believe I would even imagine anything like this where I live, you know. Oh.
Remember, hindsight's 20/20. The whole thing happened too quickly. I mean, you weren't the only one that heard. Like I said earlier, remember, a lot of other people called about it in your neighborhood. So really,
I mean, the people that like are back there. I mean, their porches are right there.
you did.
I mean, they were probably like 3 feet. They could have ran out and helped the person, you know.
Well, honestly, calling 911 was the best way to help this man, especially to get the ambulance rolling out there as fast as we could.
Okay, so people called even before I did?
Yeah, we got a bunch of calls all at once. So trust me, a lot of people in your area called. We had an ambulance rolling almost right away, along with police on the way as well. And right now, I can tell you the officers might be out there for a while since they're investigating a serious crime.
Should I say, I mean, I shouldn't go down there and say anything?
Well, for now, you might want to just stay in your house, wait for things to calm down a little bit. It's possible they might have an investigator go door to door to see if anyone else might have heard or seen anything else out of the ordinary.
Okay.
So, of course, if you hear a knock at your door and it's an officer, you probably should answer it and talk to them. It might make you feel a little better as well because they can tell you exactly what's going on in the details and whether or not you should be worried.
Okay, I guess there's a lot of, I hear a lot of cars.
Yeah, there's probably
going to be
right now. There's probably going to be a lot of sirens, but trust me, the sirens will be over soon, and they're probably going to take this guy to the hospital if they feel.
God, I just heard him say something. Oh, all the cars are outside my house right now in the front. Sorry, I'm just shaking.
That's okay.
I don't know what sorry. It just blows my mind. I guess maybe I have to think of someone to call, a friend or something. They're home.
Yeah, if you have a friend or someone you can call and talk to that can, pass the time with, I think that'd be a really good idea. But of course, make sure you listen to your door if one of those officers comes up.
Sorry, I just can't even believe, I just can't believe sorry. Wow.
Well, it's okay. This isn't something people are dealing with every day. It's okay to feel this way.
Well, maybe somebody, if you don't mind saying, maybe somebody could call me. Like someone that could fight to me. I've never seen trauma like this. It's almost like a movie.
Now,
sorry, I don't know why, I'm shaking. I can't stop shaking.
it's normal. normal after something like this, so don't.
Okay. All right. Okay, I better hang up. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I can't even hold on to the phone with my one hand. It's shaking.
All right, so listen, I think you have the right idea. Maybe call a friend, talk to them a while, pass the time.
Okay.
If you feel like anything's wrong, like if you start feeling a little anxious, or I'm not sure if you have any.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels bad.
Like, I'm not sure if you have any pre-existing medical conditions, but if you're feeling a little off, feel free to call us back. We can always have an ambulance check you out. The EMTs can just come out there and make sure everything's all right.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I feel like I'm shaking. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm just shaking. Sorry.
Like I said, this is.
I mean, if somebody wants to call me, that's okay. I don't know. It's just like something like trauma that I can maybe talk to someone later.
We can possibly set that up. We do have someone that's called a victims advocate that normally responds to people who are involved in these kinds of incidences. But
Okay.
like, I can see if we can make someone get someone to respond out there for you. Do you mind holding on for just a second?
Okay.
Okay.
So could you call me back? I don't know who I could call. I'm just trying to think of a friend or someone.
I'm not going to put you. I'm not going to put you on hold per se, but I gotta go away from the phone for just a second, all right? Because I get this.
Okay.
Actually, get someone.
Sorry, I'm just very.
No, it's okay. Actually, I think what would be best is if we were to have an officer meet with you, and then you can speak with the officer about the incident, and then
Okay.
if it's necessary, we could also get the victims advocate to speak to you as well if we page him out there. So I know you live on Retreat View Circle, but what's your house number?
3021.
3021.
Yes. Oh God. I mean, I don't know. I don't know any of the circumstances. Just like it just. Yeah, I see someone was getting hurt. I just can't believe somebody would shoot someone. Oh, God. You want my phone number? Or do you already have it?
Oh, yeah, go ahead and confirm your phone number.
Oh, okay. 407. Oh, I feel so bad. 788-8930.
Okay, I caught the 407 and the 8930, but what is the
407 788
788? Okay, that's what I didn't catch.
8930.
Okay, I got the rest. I got your phone number, and Jane, just go ahead and call, a friend, try to calm down a little bit, but stay by your door, because if someone comes up, you don't answer it, they're probably going to think you're not home. So be sure you're by your door, or you can at least hear someone knock or ring the bell.
Oh my gosh.
And
Okay.
they'll announce themselves, so you don't have to worry about that as well.
All right.
Now again,
I'm gonna try to hang up.
If you're feeling a little woozy, anything like that, give us a call back. We'll have the EMTs come check you out. But
Okay.
in the meantime, we'll have an officer come out there and meet with you.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Ma'am, this was a pretty traumatic event for you that evening.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cross.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Mr.
We approach the bench, just a minor technicality.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Take a deep breath if you would like.
Thank you.
I imagine just hearing your own voice must have impacted you,
Yes, sir.
reminded you of those events that you witnessed, some by ear and some by sight.
Yes.
Yeah. No. So I keep kicking it. There's nothing over to put my feet. It was the cries for help that seemed so desperate to you. Is that right?
Yes. The one cry for help, yes.
That was so powerful that you knew this was an extreme, life-threatening situation.
I believe so.
That this person was asking, please, would somebody come help them because they are truly in dire straits.
I don't know what they were thinking, but the yells for help indicated they needed help.
Right, I'm talking about how you felt.
Oh, okay.
That this person was in big trouble,
Correct?
that they really needed help.
Yes.
That it was, if nothing else, a plea for mercy.
A plea for someone to save them.
Save them from what sounded like to you a serious injury or even death.
Yes, save them because they ultimately died.
We'll talk a little more about that in a bit, because that's the opinion that you formed, correct?
Correct.
Well, let's talk about the setting, though, a little bit more. What was so powerful about the cries that you heard were the extreme nature of them, the compelling nature, something that you will never, ever forget.
Yes.
And you said that before.
Yes.
It's obvious that you were very distressed on the recording. Would you agree?
Yes.
And it was two cries or two distinct sounds that you heard.
The help, yes, there was two, from my recollection of
The-
yells for help.
Mm-hmm. The first one seemed to be the actual word help,
More so.
and the other one was even higher, more excruciating, almost a yelp that you described.
Yes.
But that's the only two that you heard?
I believe so, yes.
Have you listened to the recording that was made where there's the cries for help in the background?
No.
Never heard that?
Just maybe once or twice on TV, or the radio or something like that a year ago.
Well, I mean, so you have heard it?
I've heard someone record, or the telephone call, they had it on the news or something.
Okay, so you have heard that 911 call with the background of someone crying for help?
Yes,
Over and over again?
a couple times. Not over and over.
What you distinctly remember, though, are two for sure.
Yes.
Do you think there might even have been more that you didn't hear now that you've heard that recording?
I just always thought there was two. I guess I still think there was only two.
Mm-hmm. This was raining pretty hard that night,
Yes.
hard enough that you shut the window,
Correct. Yes.
and that was because of the rain.
Pardon?
That was because of the rain.
Pouring down rain so it wouldn't come into my window. My house.
But you were still, when you were looking out at these two men wrestling, one on top of the other, you were able to see clearly it was two figures,
Yes.
and that one was on top of the other,
Yes.
and that one was more vertical than the other.
To me, they both looked vertical.
You used the word vertical. On top, the man on top was vertical. Is that what you mean by he was more sitting up?
No, they were both laying on the ground, one person on top of the other. Vertical, meaning when I looked out, they were vertical.
Oh, the direction was vertical.
Yes, sir.
I see, okay. The position, though, of the men was at that point that you saw them, they were sort of one on top of the other.
Yes.
And you couldn't see the detail of what the arms were doing, other than it impressed you as if they might be wrestling?
Yes.
At what point did you realize this was a really serious event, one that help is desperately needed?
When I opened the when I shut my nightlight off and I could see that two men were on the ground, I knew it was something very serious.
So let's, before we go to that point, the voices or voice, I'm not sure what you said earlier. It was, you heard a voice or voices outside your window several minutes before, is that correct?
The first time I heard the voices, yes, someone very loud talking outside, which surprised me because it was raining.
So let's talk just about that for a moment. You were in the bedroom, and was your window closed at this point?
It was closed.
Even though, okay, and you could hear a voice or voices outside that caught your attention because of the weather conditions?
Yes.
You didn't hear anything specifically being said?
No.
And it wasn't like an argument that you described later on?
No, just someone talking really loud so I could hear them even with my window closed.
Mm-hmm. You don't know who that was, I take it?
No.
You didn't see them?
No.
Don't know whether it was somebody completely unrelated to the case?
I would assume they were the same people because it was minutes later that same area, same people.
But that's your assumption, correct?
Yes.
You don't have any basis for that based on your observations?
No.
So you hear a voice or voices outside the window that catches your attention, and you don't notice at that point that there's any particular confrontation or any kind of distress in the voices?
No, just someone talking unusually very loud.
And it could even have been one person, correct?
If they were talking to themselves, yes.
Or on the phone.
True. But so loud, I can't imagine someone talking that loud.
But you didn't make out any words.
No, I
You
didn't.
just heard sound.
Yes.
So if someone's talking over the wind on a cell phone, or there's some other noise right around them and spoke loudly, that could have been that. Right?
Oh, I'm sorry, what?
I'm sorry, I grabbed some water.
Oh, you walked away, I didn't know.
Yes, I'm sorry. No, I apologize. So that could be true, right?
I guess so.
So there wasn't anything particularly disturbing or even attention-getting other than you heard a voice in a setting with the weather conditions that you wouldn't usually hear a voice.
I was still thinking that it was a very loud voice, louder than usual, that's all.
Nothing about that voice you can distinguish the characteristics of it, other than the volume was up.
No.
So I take it you didn't pay much attention to it, and you went and began to get ready to read a little bit, waiting for your show?
Yes.
And the window was still closed?
Yes.
And some time passed. You said a couple of minutes. You said today as much as 5, correct?
It could be.
And it could be as much as 10.
I'm not sure if it would be as much as 10.
Did you say that in a sworn statement, that you estimated it was 5 to 10 minutes?
I could have, yes.
So your sense of it was, and not like Mr. De La Ronda said, you obviously didn't have a stopwatch because it wasn't important to you at that point. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. So 5 to even as much as 10 minutes may have passed between hearing that first louder voice and the second event that you've described as an argument.
Possibly. Yes.
And you don't have any information to connect those two events other than that you heard voices in that same area.
Correct?
You don't know that it was the same voice you heard the second time.
I just assumed so because it was still a very loud voice when the window was closed and also when the window was open. It was still a very loud voice.
So you're assuming then that a voice you heard 5 or 10 minutes before might be the same voice that you heard more loud, that was loud in this more aggressive conversation?
Yes.
That conversation was one where the loud dominant voice was the first voice, correct?
Yes.
It was the one that initiated that argument or that confrontation type conversation.
I don't know the situation. I just know that I heard the loud, dominant voice.
And then the softer, more meek voice was the response.
Yes.
And that's what struck you about it, was that the more dominant, loud voice was the confrontational voice.
What struck me, it wasn't someone out there having a conversation and talking loud. It was someone being very aggressive and angry at someone.
Sure. And that was in the vicinity of this T intersection?
Somewhere between that first
Could we have
porch
the
and second
diagram
porch.
back of the neighborhood? Well, for the screen would be better, I think, for now. Mr. Dyke, I'm simply trying to orient you and the members of the jury to where you believe these two men were during this conversation that you described as confrontational and aggressive. And do you see that T area that's been pointed out?
No.
Perhaps we
Oh, now I see the arrow. Okay.
we can expand it. Is that all you do? You just kind of grab it? That's what I'm looking for. Do you see where this is?
Where the white arrow is?
No, you've lost me. I don't
Okay.
see an arrow.
I thought that was an arrow, but it's not.
Oh, there. Oh, yes, the cursor arrow. So this is about where you are in this area. From
Yes.
your back bedroom. And then this is the general area where you believe you heard the confrontation.
Yeah, anywhere between there and up a little bit farther. I can't really pinpoint.
Okay, in this area, you couldn't say exactly where it was because you didn't see it, correct?
I saw them on the ground.
But they weren't on the ground here.
They were on the ground a little bit farther up.
Right. So I'm talking about the voices.
Oh, okay.
You only heard these voices. You didn't see anybody.
Right. Yes.
And you heard the voices from your vantage point about where the arrow is now, as best you could tell.
I don't know because I couldn't see it.
But you heard a confrontation. You heard enough aggression in the first voice that it really caught your attention.
Yes.
You knew something was about to happen.
That I didn't know. I just know that someone wasn't out having a normal conversation.
Mm-hmm. So at that point, is the reason you couldn't see because the glare in your unit kept you from looking out the window?
Yes, my night light. The glare of that didn't allow me to see out there.
So I take it you turned out the nightlight.
Yes.
And at that point, you could see out the window.
Yes.
And the next time you looked out the window, the men that you believed were arguing or confronting here had moved down this way. Am I right?
Well, I don't know if they were over there because I couldn't see, so it was just somewhere in that area.
So when you say you saw them on the ground,
Yes.
was it around this area or somewhere else?
I don't know, just within that area, just seeing two people straight down.
So you,
Within that area, I can't exactly pinpoint.
You don't have a clear image in your mind where exactly these people were on the ground.
Just that they were on that side of the sidewalk, and they were, somewhere within that first and second porch.
Sure. I'm not asking you to be any more precise than you can be, based on what you could see under the circumstances, because it was very dark, correct?
Yes.
And there was not much light on from any of the units.
Oh, the unit across on the other side of the sidewalk had the light on.
And there aren't any street lights or overhead lighting in this area.
No.
So if the people have their porch lights off, it's almost pitch black back there.
Almost.
And then, of course, if a resident turns on a light for whatever their reason might be, there's a little bit of light along the way.
If they had there's a light on the back porch, and that's when you could see more out in the common area.
So how much one can see at any given moment at night depends on which of the residents, if any, have their porch lights on.
Yes, you could see more that way, yes.
So from your best recollection, when you got your inside light turned off and looked outside, the voices that you had heard, you believe, were the men that you then saw on the ground in
Yes.
this general area.
Yes.
And by that point, one was on the top of the other.
Yes, that's how I saw it in the dark, yes.
And you could see well enough to see that the person on top had a dark-colored shirt or jacket on.
It looked like it was dark, like black, or I'm not sure.
And you continued to watch as best you could, I take it.
Yes. I was calling 911 at that time.
By the time you saw the two guys on the ground, the one on top with the dark or black covering, shirt, jacket, what have you, you knew you needed to take some action?
Yes.
Had you heard the yells or the cries for help yet?
When I was on the phone touching the pad for 911, that's when I heard the yells for help.
So you had already decided to call the police by seeing the men on the ground before you actually heard any yelling.
Yes.
And by the time you got your phone and began dialing, you then heard these excruciating, desperate cries that you've described.
The phone was right next to me, so I just reached for it and put it to me and pressed the pads for 911.
And then did you turn your attention again out the window?
Yes.
So then did you watch what else happened as best you could?
Yes.
The men remained on the ground, correct?
Yes.
And do you believe that, you were looking at the two men when the shot was fired?
Yes.
Do you believe that you were on the phone with the 911 operator when the shot was fired?
I thought I was, yes.
Well, today, do you believe that?
Yes, possibly. Everything just happened so quickly,
Sure.
and I was just so nervous. I know I was pressing the 911 when I heard the yells for help, and then I heard the shots after the yell for help.
Of course. Yes. My question, though, more precisely is, do you believe you were on the phone with the 911 operator when the shots were fired?
Yes.
We played the 911 call Mr. Del Ronda did a few moments ago. And were you listening?
Yes.
Did it sound like to you that, in fact, that's true? Did it sound like you were on the phone when the shots were fired, or that you were describing to the operator that the shots had already been fired and you were watching at that point?
I'm not sure. I just thought that I was on the phone with the operator when I heard the shots.
You also testified today that you had opened your window, correct?
Correct? Yes.
In the 911 call, did you hear yourself say to the operator, "I can open the window if you want"?
Yes, I did hear that.
So are you not sure whether the window was actually open or not?
Oh, I'm absolutely sure the window was open.
But you do recognize, though, that you told the 911 operator that "I can open the window if you want"?
Yes, I think I must have been nervous. All I know is I definitely opened the window. And
No one is blaming anyone for being nervous. It was traumatic for you, no doubt.
yes,
Traumatic enough that you would seek the counsel of a friend or the comfort of a friend?
yes, I called someone after that.
In any event, you aren't sure at this point, or are you, that you were looking at the men on the ground when the shot was fired?
I was looking at the men because I heard pop, 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 if that's what the gun was.
Sure. And at the point you were looking out the window when the shots were fired, the man on top was the one with the dark-colored or black top.
I don't think I could say for sure, just that I know after hearing the pop, 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 pretty much right after that person was up and walking towards my window.
You didn't see them change position, though.
No,
Didn't see, in other words, after the shot, you didn't see the person that was on the bottom get out from under and get on top.
I didn't see any of that, no.
You did see a person stand up, though, shortly after the shots, within a few seconds, I take it.
Yes, up and walking towards where I was watching, yes.
And that person was the one that was kind of going like this?
Not exactly like that, just kind of like, oh my gosh, you know, what did I do or something.
Or oh my gosh, what happened? Or oh my gosh, you know, whatever it is, that's you're sort of just figuring out what you think this person may have been thinking.
Yes, I don't know what they were thinking, but they didn't look like they were hurt or anything like that.
Did you ever see the pictures of George Zimmerman's injuries?
No,
Never saw the picture of his bloody nose?
no,
Never saw the picture of the blood on the back of his head?
no,
Or the lumps on his scalp?
no.
Did you not watch the news about this case?
I try not to, but sometimes, you know, you're just watching and there it is.
Were you... So at no time when you watched the news following this event, did you ever see... Ever see a picture of George Zimmerman in the patrol car minutes after this happened with a swollen and bloody nose?
No,
You did see somebody arrive with a flashlight, though, almost immediately.
yes, the neighbor from the house.
And within moments, there was also a police officer there.
Pretty soon, the neighbor was there first and talking to him for a little while.
Right.
And then I saw another person run down that sidewalk with a flashlight, or looked like a police officer because he had him put his hands up.
So as soon as the officer got there, you saw the person that you now know to be George Zimmerman with his hands up.
Yes,
And in fact, there must have been some dialogue because you heard Mr. Zimmerman say, "I shot him," to the
yes,
police officer.
that's the only thing that I heard.
Didn't try to run away,
No,
didn't resist in any way that you could see.
not that I know of.
Was fully cooperative with the police upon their virtually immediate arrival?
He put his hands up. I heard him say, I shot him. And then I saw the police officer handcuff his hands behind his back.
When you saw the person you now know to be Mr. Zimmerman stand up from this traumatic event that you had just witnessed, you saw the person underneath him lying face down on the grass, correct?
Correct, yes.
You never saw that person change position or move,
No,
and you never saw George Zimmerman withdraw that. Just to be clear, you think you were watching when the shots were fired, but you're not sure, or are you?
I've assumed so all along, yes, if that's what a gun sound like from the second floor, pop, pop, pop.
But you did not see what might be known as muzzle blast, correct?
I don't even know what that is.
Have you ever seen in a movie where a gun is fired at night and there's fire that comes out the end?
I don't know, I don't watch many movies.
Do you know what well, whether it's TV or anything? Do you ever see where if a gun is fired, a flash comes out the end of the barrel, the burning gunpowder?
I guess so.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
No,
At the time of the shots, did you see any flash of light or anything connected in your mind with the shots?
no.
From what you saw, piecing it together, seeing the position of what the person later identified as Trayvon Martin being face down, George Zimmerman that you saw get up and walk away being on top at the time of the shots, that means then, logically, that George Zimmerman would have had to shoot Trayvon Martin in the back.
Objection. That's the witness to speculate.
Sustained.
Did you ever wonder about that?
Same objection.
Sustained, you're
Did,
asking.
did you
him-
know where on Trayvon Martin's body he was shot?
At the time, no.
Ever?
I've only heard that he got shot in the chest or something.
Can you reconcile that he was shot in the chest, with what you believe you saw?
I don't understand what you're asking me.
Well, you said that Trayvon Martin was face down after the shot,
Yes,
that George Zimmerman was on top, that you were watching them in that position at the time of the shots, and that you continued to watch and never saw them change position.
yes, to my recollection, yes.
Sure. And the person, Trayvon Martin, lying face down, continued to lie face down until rescue came,
Yes,
right? Knowing that Trayvon Martin was shot in the chest, are you able to reconcile in your mind what you think you saw with the facts?
that's what I saw, and that's the only thing I can tell you, is what I saw and hearing the shots, and he was face down.
Mr. Dyke, you obviously were traumatized by this, and you made certain assumptions, correct?
Assumptions, I just said exactly what I saw to the best of my ability and heard.
Well, one of the assumptions, for example, that you made was that the voice or voices that you heard 5 or 10 minutes before were the same people that you later heard arguing.
True, I thought they were the same people because the time was close and it was the same location.
but you don't have any more information other than that circumstance.
No, I do not.
You also assumed that the confrontational voice, the one that was aggressive, was George Zimmerman's.
Yes, because he was a man.
But you don't have any independent evidence of that, correct?
Correct?
You therefore then assumed that the other voice, the one that was softer, less dominant, was Trayvon Martin.
Yes.
And you sort of reached those conclusions because you at some point learned that Trayvon Martin was 17 years old.
No, when I heard the voices, I definitely thought it was a man's loud, aggressive voice, and the other voice just sounded like a higher pitched, lighter voice. Someone could have been a smaller man, but it sounded more like a boy to me.
Or it could have been a man who has a higher voice.
It sounded more like a boy to me.
Of course, but it could have been a man with a higher voice.
I don't know.
Just like the more aggressive, dominant voice could have been a 17-year-old with a strong voice or a more mature voice. Correct?
I guess so.
Well, you've been around kids in school,
Yes.
right? You know that by the time 17 rolls around, that there's a wide range of maturity, physical maturity.
I guess so.
Well, do you question that?
No, everyone's different, has a different voice.
Well, you know that voices change through puberty, correct?
Correct.
A boy's voice that might be fairly high when he's in his early teens can get pretty deep pretty quick when he becomes an adolescent.
I guess so. I don't have children, so I don't know.
I'm talking about your experience at school.
Okay.
You've been around a lot of teenagers, haven't you?
Yes.
And haven't you been around some teenagers that talk not just like grown men, but have real deep, resonant voices?
I guess so.
You don't know that for sure?
I haven't been teaching for a couple years, so yeah.
Well, think about back then, when you were teenagers every day. Aren't there 17-year-olds that have deep, mature voices?
I guess so. Mm-hmm.
But your opinions and conclusions about who did what in this case was based upon your assumption that the confrontational voice was the older person's voice. Could we read back that part?
Your Honor, I'm going to object as asked and answered if he finished the question. My objection is asked and answered.
Do you need to have it read back?
I can ask the question again. We don't need to take the time to do that. So in assigning who was doing what in this case, you assumed that because one voice sounded deeper, more mature, that was George Zimmerman's voice rather than Trayvon Martin's.
Objection, asked and answered, and argumentative at this point.
Overruled as to argumentative. I'll let her answer this one last time, but then move on.
Thank you. Did you get my question?
Yes, just again, it sounded like a man's voice, the louder, aggressive voice.
I'm talking about your assumption, though. As you explained later what you saw, even as perhaps you were explaining to the 911 operator, oh my God, someone's dead, why would somebody do that, why didn't somebody help, I don't have a gun. All of that was based upon your assumption that it was the person on the ground who had died that was the one yelling for help.
I thought from the voice that it was the one yelling for the help, was the boy that was dead.
Yes. But you'd never heard Trayvon Martin's voice before in your life?
I heard it when I opened the window, and they were... I heard it when I opened the window, and then I was hearing the voices. I heard two voices.
Had you ever heard George Zimmerman's voice in your life?
No.
So when you say you heard Trayvon Martin's voice before, you're saying that it was your opinion that you were listening to his voice as the softer of the two in the argument?
Yes.
but that was the assumption based upon the pitch, the tone, the strength of the voice.
Objection has been answered.
This is another way to ask the same question, so I'm going to have to sustain the objection.
May I get some more water, Judge? Thanks. Prior to the evening of February 26, 2012, you had never heard Trayvon Martin's voice,
Correct, yes,
and you had never heard George Zimmerman's voice.
correct.
And when you looked out the window, or actually you tried to look out the window but couldn't because of the glare, but you heard two people arguing.
Yes,
You couldn't see which of the two were speaking.
no,
So you don't know who had the higher voice or who had the more dominant, strong, argumentative voice by looking at them interact.
no, just two different voices and two different people.
And
Okay.
since February 26, 2012, have you ever heard Trayvon Martin's voice?
No,
Have you ever heard George Zimmerman's voice?
no,
On the, you said that to the operator, you didn't want to become a witness, that you wanted to be anonymous, correct?
I did hear myself say that, yes.
And that was true, wasn't it, at the time anyway?
Yes, I was so shaken up and, yes,
So the 911 operator said to you, okay, we'll keep you anonymous. Did you assume he would keep his word?
I didn't assume anything. I don't even know, so shaken up. I just wanted to say what happened, and I can't say if I even knew on that part of the conversation, what was I talking about. I was just shaking so much.
Did you tell the 911 operator that you didn't want to be a witness?
Yes, I heard that on there, yes.
And that's how you felt at the time?
I must have, yes.
And that changed?
Yes,
You were interviewed by the lead investigator, Chris Serino, in this case?
yes,
And in that interview, you told him that you believed that there was about 10 minutes or so between the two sets of voices that you've described here today.
okay.
Do you disagree?
No, whatever I said, I said.
During that interview, while it may have been short, he gave you an opportunity to explain what you'd seen, correct?
Yes, and he recorded it.
He recorded it. Did you seek him out, or did he find you?
After it happened and I talked to a friend on the phone, I was so nervous and shaken. I came out of my house, of the front door, and I saw a neighbor. And she said, "Are you okay?" And I said, No, I saw it. And she said, "Let me bring you over to the police." So we went, she took me in back, and I went right up to a lady police officer. And I said, "I need to tell you, what I saw and what happened."
Do you know who that officer was?
I believe her name was Serena.
You think that was
Officer
her,
Serena. It was a lady.
a woman? You think that was her first name?
I think so.
It was a police officer that you believe had the first name of Serena?
It was a female officer, yes.
It's not ringing a bell. That's why I'm wondering if you have any more information on that. It's not Sereno, though.
No, it wasn't a man.
So you then said, yes, you would like to be a witness?
Yes, I told her that I saw it and I was crying, and she said, "Okay, I'm going to send an officer into your house and he could come talk to you." And I said, "Yes."
And did you meet with an officer that evening?
Within minutes of her telling me that, I came back into my house and a police officer knocked my back glass window. It wasn't Officer Serino, it was someone else. And he came in and he said, okay, go ahead and write down on this form what you saw and then give it back to me. And then he left out my back window.
So you filled out a written statement and turned it in, basically?
Yeah, I went out the back and said, here it is. And then they said there will be another officer, Officer Serino, coming to interview you a little later.
And that happened?
Yes.
Investigator Serino met with you and took a taped statement?
Yes.
At your home?
Yes.
And then you believed that he hadn't gotten enough detail from you?
I don't know what you mean.
Well, didn't you complain that he didn't even go upstairs to look out the window?
I didn't complain.
Did you make that comment?
I made the comment that I offered Officer Serino if he wanted to go upstairs and view where I had witnessed. And he said, no, that's okay.
This was several days later?
Excuse me?
Several days later?
Yes.
So by then he'd already collected other evidence and had interviewed other witnesses.
Objection is the speculation on the part of this witness.
He didn't say anything to you about the stage of the investigation when he went back to interview you further.
Objection. Now it's the hearsay what somebody else said.
In any event, you made the comment that you offered to let him go upstairs and look out your window, and he didn't do that, correct?
He chose not to, yes.
Sure. And you considered that to be something that he should have done?
I don't know. I'm not an investigator. I don't know what they normally do. I couldn't speak for him.
Well, would you defer to his judgment on that?
Say that again, please.
Would you defer to his judgment on that?
I would just think maybe he would want to see, that's all.
Of course, but would you defer to his judgment?
I can't say.
You said that you didn't want to be a witness to the 911 operator, and then you went downstairs and told a police officer that, yes, in fact, you did, correct?
Correct.
Objection asked and answered.
Is this a lead into another question? Okay, go ahead.
That's true, isn't it?
That I went down, I was in front, and the neighbor brought me over to a police officer, yes.
Right, and you told the police officer that you had seen some things and that you would be willing to give a statement.
I just said that I saw it, and then she said she would send a police officer to my door.
And that happened,
Yes.
and you filled out a written statement.
Objection asked and answered.
This is all predicate stuff, Judge.
All right, let's get to the point.
Sure. So you filled out the written statement,
Yes.
correct? And then some days later, Officer Serino came out and interviewed you in more detail.
No, he came that night 2 hours later.
2 hours later, I'm sorry. And then you said to someone that you didn't think he had, because he hadn't gone upstairs to look out the window, that he hadn't gotten enough, all of your information, enough information from you that you, all of the information that you basically had.
Judge, I'm going to object. I think that's been asked and answered twice.
I wouldn't say that.
Didn't you, though, go on national television to tell what you think you saw?
I was disguised and not shown on television, and they had a distorted voice, so no one knew who I was.
But it was you, wasn't it?
Yes.
So you did go on national television to tell, what was it, Anderson Cooper?
Only with the agreement that I would not be seen and heard or recognized.
And they
And
respected that.
Yes.
But you did go on national television to tell what you believe you saw and heard.
Yes.
and largely because you didn't think the Sanford Police Department spent enough time with you to get your information.
No,
You went on national television twice, though, didn't you?
no,
Was just the one time
yes,
that you were interviewed by Ashley Banfield, is that correct?
yes,
And that was videotaped and recorded and then repeated several times on national television.
I don't know, it was several times, just once is what I knew.
Did you see it?
Yes,
So you were there and then you saw it.
yes,
And the whole reason for this was that you thought it was Trayvon Martin that was the person that was crying so desperately for someone to help him.
that wasn't the only reason. I just wanted to say what I saw and what I heard, and people can make their own judgments.
Using their common sense.
Objection, argumentative.
I don't know that argumentative is a right objection, so overruled.
You mentioned at the very beginning that it was pouring rain, and so you had to shut your window down. At the time you opened your window, it wasn't like pouring rain, or was it?
Objection, Your Honor, leading.
I'll be glad to rephrase the question.
Sustained?
You originally mentioned that at the beginning it was pouring rain that night.
Yes,
At the time that you observed what you observed and heard what you observed, was it pouring down rain, or what was the conditions?
no, I don't think it was pouring down rain. It didn't, discard my view or anything else.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. May Ms. Surdaki be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. You are excused.
Thank you.
Does anybody need a break? Yes, okay. We'll take a 15-minute recess. If you'll please put your notepads face down on the chairs and follow Deputy Jarvis out of the courtroom. Court is in recess for 15 minutes.